In this video, we're going to learn how to dynamically allocate an array of structs using C. The first thing we'll do is include stdlib.h. So that way we can use the malloc, realloc, and free functions to work with dynamically allocated memory. Next, we'll create a new type of struct using typedef and struct. So we'll have typedef, struct, and our struct will have two members, int x and int y. And we'll call this type of struct point. Now we can declare point structs. So down here, we'll make our first point struct. We'll have point p1. Now we could set the members of this struct with p1.x is equal to 4 and p1.y is equal to 5. And we could output these values as well. We could have printf %d, comma, %d inside of brackets. And then we could output p1.x and p1.y. And if we save this, compile, and run our program, we're going to see that we have 4, 5 here, which makes sense because we set x and y to 4 and 5. Now here, we've declared a point struct on the stack. We could also use dynamically allocated memory to store a point struct. To do that, we would need to create a pointer variable that can store the memory address of the point struct on the heap. So we would have point star p2. And here we've declared a pointer variable called p2. And the pointer variable can store the memory address of a point struct that's going to be on the heap. Now to allocate space for a point struct on the heap, we could use malloc or calloc. So here we'll use malloc. We'll have p2 is equal to malloc, and then we're going to have size of point. So malloc is going to allocate space for things on the heap. The argument it accepts is the number of bytes to allocate. We need enough space to store a point struct. Size of point will give us the number of bytes that it takes to store a point struct, and malloc will allocate space for that many bytes. Malloc will return a memory address that will be stored into p2. We can use that memory address to actually access the struct. So we could dereference the pointer. If we have here star p2, this will dereference the pointer and give us access to the thing that p2 is pointing to, the thing that p2 stores the memory address of, which in this case is going to be a point struct. We could then access the members of the struct with .x is equal to, let's say, 5, and we could have star p2 .y is equal to 2. And again, we could output the struct members with printf, and then in brackets %d and %d, and then here we'll have star p2 .x and star p2 .y. Now because we're using dynamically allocated memory, we should free that memory when we're done working with it. So here we should have free p2. This will make the memory that was allocated for the point struct available again. If we didn't do this, we would have what's called a memory leak, where we have memory that's still allocated, but not actually being used anymore. So we could save, compile, and run our program, and we'll get 5 and 2 for the second point here. Now when we have a pointer to a struct, we can use what's called the arrow operator to access the struct members. So here we could have p2 and then dash greater than, and it looks kind of like an arrow, and it's called the arrow operator. And this will allow us to access the member y of the struct that p2 is pointing to. We could use that here as well. So we could have p2 and then dash greater than. And if we save, compile, and run the program, we'll get the same result. So that's another way we can access the members of a struct when we have a pointer to a struct. Now, if we want to dynamically allocate space for an array of structs on the heap, it's going to look a lot like this. Here we asked malloc to give us enough space to store a single point struct by giving it the size of a point struct in bytes as an argument. If we took the size in bytes of a point struct and multiplied it by the number of elements in our array, that would give us enough bytes to store an entire array of point structs. So let's do that now. Let's delete all this, and we'll now have a pointer variable called array. And this pointer variable will also store the memory address of a point struct. This time though, it's going to store the memory address of the first point struct in an array of point structs. We'll declare and initialize an int variable called length that's going to store the length of our array. Then here, we'll allocate space for our array. So we'll have array is equal to malloc, and we'll have size of point, and this time multiplied by length. So size of point is going to give us the size in bytes that it takes to store a point struct. We're going to multiply that by the length of our array to give us the total number of bytes required to store an array of this length made up of point structs. And malloc is going to return a memory address that we're going to store into array. And that memory address is going to be the memory address of the first point struct in the array on the heap. Now, if we wanted to access the members of the struct elements of the array, we could use this syntax. The array at index 0 would give us access to the first point struct, and then .x would allow us to set the x member. We can set it to 1. And we'll do the same thing with the member y. Now the array has length 3, so in a very similar way, we could access the other array elements. We could have the array at index 1, .x is equal to 2, and array at the index 1, .y is equal to 2. And this would set the x and y members of the second point struct in the array to 2 and 2. We could also have array at index 2, .x is equal to 3, and array at index 2, .y is equal to 3, to set the third struct element's members to 3 and 3. So this syntax here with the dot operator might be surprising to you. Previously, when we had a pointer to a point struct, we either had to dereference the pointer and then use the dot operator, or we could use the arrow operator. But here, we're just using the dot operator despite the fact that we don't seem to be dereferencing the pointer. So this here, array at the index 2, is actually equivalent to this here, star array plus 2, with brackets around this here as well. Where array plus 2 is what's called pointer arithmetic, we take the memory address of the first point struct in the array as given by the array pointer, and the plus 2 will give us the memory address of the point struct 2 over in memory. In other words, the third point struct in the array. We then dereference that pointer, and we can access the members of that struct using the dot operator. So the array index notation is equivalent to having a dereference pointer. That's why we don't need to use the arrow operator when we have an array of structs on the heap. Now we could also access the array elements in a loop by using a counter variable. So for example, we could create a loop to print out each struct's members. So we could have here printf array ... \n, and then we'll create a loop with a counter variable I that's going to go from 0 up until the length of the array by 1. And then we'll print out the members of the struct at the index I with %d, %d, \n, and we'll have the array element at the index I .x and the array element at the index I .y. And then finally a new line after printing out each struct's members. Now again, because we're using dynamically allocated memory, we should free this memory when we're done working with it. So here we should have free array. Then if we save, compile, and run our program, we can see that the values of the members of each struct have been output successfully. Now, one of the key benefits to using dynamically allocated memory is that we can reallocate blocks of memory. We can make them larger or smaller by using the realloc function. So for example, let's say that we wanted to make the array length 4. We could set length to 4, and then we could call realloc to reallocate our block of memory. So we could have array is equal to realloc array, and then size of point multiplied by length. So like malloc, realloc has this argument that specifies the number of bytes that needs to be allocated. We're going to multiply the size in bytes that it takes to store a point struct by the length of our array. That's going to allocate space for that many bytes, which will be enough to store an array of this new length. Now realloc also accepts this argument here, which is the pointer for, in other words, the memory address of the original block of memory. It's going to return a potentially new memory address. Now oftentimes the memory address will be the same, but sometimes when realloc tries to make a block of memory larger at its existing location, it just can't do that, because to do so would involve overwriting other memory that's being used. So instead, realloc will move our block of memory to a new location in memory. It will then return the new memory address for that block of memory, which we store into array. So now that we've made our array larger, we could set the members of the fourth struct in the array. So we could have array at the index 3 dot x is equal to 4, array at the index 3 dot y is equal to 4. And again, we could output the array elements. I'll just copy this code here to do it again after we've reallocated and increased the size of our array. So we could save, compile, and run our program. And we can see now that we've reallocated space for our array. And we now have this fourth point struct in our array. And we're outputting the values of the members for that struct as well. Now, one last thing I should point out is that if our struct members are themselves pointers to memory that's been dynamically allocated, we're going to need to free that memory separately. So let's roll back to this example here, where we just had an array with 3 elements that we dynamically allocated here. Let's add a new member. We'll add a member car star description. This is going to be a pointer to a character array on the heap. And we're going to have our member point to dynamically allocated memory. Because we're working with strings, I'll also include the string.h library here. So now, when we create each point, we're also going to dynamically allocate memory for a description, and then we'll copy a string into that dynamically allocated memory. So we'll have here array at the index 0 dot description is equal to malloc, and we'll have 10 here. To allocate space for 10 characters, we're just going to have a small string for our description. A car is 1 byte, so there's no need to use size of car here. Then, from the string.h library, we'll use string copy, array at the index 0 dot description, and we'll copy in the string point 1. We'll do the same thing for the other array elements. So we'll copy this here and paste it here. This time though, we'll have the array at the index 1 and the array at the index 1, and we'll call this point 2. We'll do the same thing here. We'll copy this, paste it here. This time we'll have the array at the index 2 and the array at the index 2 and point 3. And now when we output the array elements, let's also output the description. So we'll have here 2 statements now. And after we output the x and y coordinates of the point, we'll also output the description. So we'll have printf dash %s \n, and we'll output the description here as well. Now we might think that by calling free array here, we're freeing all the dynamically allocated memory. And it's not like we're going to get some kind of error indicating that there's a problem. If we save, compile, and run our program, it's going to work. We're going to output the point descriptions. But the problem is each description member is a pointer to memory that's been allocated somewhere else on the heap. We also need to free that memory. This here is not going to do that. We could have a loop to do that. So for example, we could have for int I is equal to 0, I is less than length, I++, and we could free the memory that's been allocated for each description with array at index I dot description as an argument to free. And if we save, compile, and run the program, it's still going to work. But this time, we don't have a memory leak. So if our dynamically allocated structs themselves have members that are pointing to dynamically allocated data on the heap, we also have to free that dynamically allocated memory, or we're going to have a memory leak. So that is something to keep in mind as well. So this is how we can dynamically allocate memory for an array of structs on the heap using C. Check out portfoliocourses.com, where we'll help you build a portfolio that will impress employers, including courses to help you develop C programming projects.